I'm actually seriously starting to consider that Rory's a Time Lord. Okay, so maybe not a Time Lord. But I thought Rebel Flesh was important because Rory and the Doctor both reached the conclusion that the Flesh was a living creature that needed protecting because it was actually a life form. But they reached it independently, because Rory's kind of been the one swept along for the ride most of last series, and a good chunk of this series, but this was sort of his defining moment where he took his own stance independently of the Doctor, independently of Amy, and I kind of liked that. If Rory were a Time Lord, he'd make a pretty good one. He's certainly got a very strong moral ground to stand on. Let's get on to the more crackpot theories, shall we? So, one thing I kind of forgot, Amy was technically kind of pregnant on the TARDIS before, when there was psychic pollen on board. And so, I'm wondering if her pregnancy is actually just sort of an ongoing hallucination for both her and the TARDIS, and so the TARDIS is kind of alternately scanning the psychic pollen and kind of believing Amy's pregnant, and then actually truly scanning Amy and realizing she's not. They did kind of set it up at the end of Amy's choice that we'd be seeing the Dream Lord again, but I don't know if that's the case. If it's not, I have a kind of weird theory about Eye Patch Lady. Midwife. And I know that makes next to no sense. The way she talks, though, is very clinical and sort of this like, oh, you're doing just fine, which sounds to me like something a midwife would say. The room behind her is always white and very sterile looking, which is sort of like a hospital or something. So I have a couple of theories. Either the midwife is another hallucination produced by the psychic pollen, I'm gonna roll with that for some time, or Amy is going to be pregnant in the future, and it's sort of a future midwife who's getting a message back to her at the wrong time. Or we can go with your theory, Mary, where the silence impregnated her, so the midwife is actually just dealing with a silent baby as best she can, but Amy, of course, doesn't know she's pregnant, so she can't comprehend anything that's going on. I think that got most of the wacky theories out of the way. One that I think is very obvious, at least to me, might not be to everyone else, but I think it's pretty obvious. The clone doctor is the one who dies, and it's for a ridiculous reason, but it's one that's very Stephen Moffat. It's the Doctor's shoes. In The Impossible Astronaut, the Doctor actually has the pair of shoes that he's wearing when he starts Rebel Flesh, but those shoes were dissolved by extremely corrosive acid. And so the clone is the one wearing those shoes now, so it's a very small thing, but Moffat made a major plot point out of the supposed continuity error that the Doctor was wearing a jacket he'd lost earlier, so I wouldn't put it beyond him. That's about it for right now, so bye.